Valuation or appraisal? Which one do you need when you want to find out the most probable selling price for your business? How business brokers calculate that number and what happens when we go to the market with that number? These are the topics we are going to talk about in today's meeting. Hello, I'm Sara Vaziri, and I have Jim Moazez, David Jacobs, and Phil Wolfstein, all business brokers from Zoom BusinessBrokers. You can find out more about them and link to their profiles and contact numbers under this video. So let's start. David, let's start with you. Can you tell us a little bit about what is the difference between appraisal and valuation? When do we use each one of them, and we as business brokers use which one of those?
Sure, thanks, Sarah. So sometimes the terms are used interchangeably, but they are actually very different ideas. The idea is that an appraisal is used when it's a court or a legal entity that needs a definitive price on an asset like a business. And in California, it requires a special license to be able to calculate this. A valuation, on the other hand, is used to estimate what an asset like a business would receive in the current market. And valuations are usually created by business brokers or other intermediaries and are based on the broker's specific knowledge of the type of business, the industry, and the current market conditions. So generally, when you're trying to sell a business or have a change in control, the valuation is going to give you an estimate of what the transaction value will be. And if you're working on a legal agreement and you want to know what the business is worth without a change in control, then you would get an appraisal.
Okay, awesome. So if somebody comes to us and say that I have an argument with my partner and we are going to court, that's not something we can do, correct?
Correct. That would need an appraiser.
Awesome. Okay, Phil, how about you? Can you explain? I know if you want to talk about the whole valuation, it needs a day, but in a few minutes, can you briefly tell us how we do valuation to come up with the most probable selling price for the business?
Sure. Thanks, Sarah. Yeah, broker opinion values, David says, establishes the value of what the business is worth in today's market. That would be like an arm's length sale to a qualified buyer. And it's probably the fastest, least expensive way to put your finger on the pulse of what the business is worth today. And without getting into a lot of details and background, there's different methodologies and proven time-worn approach towards determining that broker opinion of value that a business owner, seller can take advantage of, so they can see where they're at in the market today and determine whether or not they need professional advice with a business advisor or business coach to implement a exit strategy or to plan for the sale of the business, or if they're ready to go to market, to then engage with the business broker to list the business and move on to market and sell that business. And as David said, the main difference in California is that the appraiser would have to meet their obligations under the Uniform Standards of Professional Appraisal Practice, USPAP, and under the law, whereas a certified business broker, we're rendering our opinion, our professional opinion, based on, as I say, established methodologies of what that business is worth. We don't take into account the appraisal. Also will look forward. They'll look at future earnings and the market value of the assets going forward. Whereas as a certified business broker, looking at a broker opinion of value is going to look at the business today in its entirety, looking back on past performance and then determining what that value would be to a qualified buyer in today's market.
Okay, awesome. So some of the things, Jim, do you want to complement? What are some of the things that we look at when we value at a business?
On a business valuation, we look at three different methods, three different fields. We look at the financials, the top line, the bottom line, for the past 3 years or so. We look at the balance sheet, we see what are the assets, what are the liabilities, and then we look at comps. What is the business similar to their business has been sold for the past couple of years? We kind of mix them up, come up with a formula and a number that considers all three different fields to come up with an as accurate as possible valuation.
Okay, that was a brief description. So when we go to the market, we go with that price. What happens then? Is it set in stone? Do we have to stick to this number to the end, or what happens in practice?
I've seen it all. I had an opportunity, I got a listing on a business, and I literally got an offer the next day. Literally. We never even went to market, just from the pool of the qualified buyers that we have at Zoom. But that's not the norm. Generally speaking, when we go to market, we usually get a good influx of responses, whether it's through email or phone calls. People see it all over the different platforms. We go nationwide and we get inquiries. We filter the looky-loos, people that are not very serious. We filter out the good qualified buyers and bring them to the table. But their response really depends on how good and valuable or desirable your business is. So there is a big variance, but overall, it usually takes about 8 to 10 months.
Okay, so what happens if just, for example, 6 months pass and we don't get any offer on the business? Phil, what do you do in this situation?
Well, I would say that if the business is priced properly, if the proper evaluation is done and you're prepared to go to market, typically you're going to get, your real buyers are going to be very quick to step up and show interest in the business. We cast a very wide net and to a wide buyer pool, both internally and externally. And that's usually within the first 30 days. If you don't have real solid interest, and I think buyers, I mean, my rule of thumb would be within about 30 days, 45 days maximum, you might want to go back and take a look and revisit it. If the business is priced properly and it's a well-run, well-managed business, buyers are going to step up. My experience is that they're going to step up relatively quickly. If it sits and you're not getting action, you're not getting a response from the market, that's an indication that you might not be priced properly.
Okay, so I'm sure it's you all agree that it depends on the type of the business. So David, for the type of business that you have a specific focus on a specific industry, for that businesses, how does it work? How long does it take so you can realize, is it priced well, not well, or how is your experience?
Sure. So I typically give my sellers a valuation range. And at the low end of the range will be the financial value. So what that business would be worth to a purely financial buyer. And I would consider that kind of the lowest acceptable offer. If I own the business, that would be the least that I would sell it for. But the goal is always to get that strategic offer. And, you know, I speak to each qualified buyer that is interested in my clients. And, you know, I find out what's wrong. And sometimes it is valuation. And sometimes there's something else that's not going right. And I'll work with my sellers to, you know, figure what that is. It's sometimes how the seller is presenting themselves on the calls. And sometimes there's no number two. It's a owner dependent business, and that needs to be fixed before we can find the right kind of buyers. But you know, it's everything, and it's across the range. But the goal is, you know, you got to have a fair enough valuation that you attract enough buyers that you can really start to tell the difference between them and find the person that you want to sell to.
Okay, awesome. Jim, do you have anything to add to this topic?
Yes, I would also add, you know, valuation of any given business is very important. You know, how much is my business worth? That's the normal question most people ask. In my humble opinion, value or the price is the second most important part. The most important part is the structure of the deal that you're going to go to market with. And we at Zoom Business Brokers, we help you structure it to make it beneficial to you and attractive to any potential buyers. And that's what people really are looking for. That's what's been missing on the market for many years. People only think about the price, not about the structure.
Okay.
I'd second that. I think that's a key part of what a business broker can bring to the transaction.
Awesome. Phil, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to say that, you know, the broker opinion of value is generally prepared by either, licensed business broker, certified business broker, and generally gets paid to provide that service. I think that it's a starting point. I like to tell the sellers and business owners that broker opinion value is really a great starting point. And if you need an appraisal and you need to get a legal valuation and go through, that's fine. Then you need to do that. It's more expensive, much more extensive analysis of the business. But typically, a broker opinion of value is going to be a great starting point to say, what's my business worth on today's market to a qualified buyer? And it invariably will highlight what aspects of the business need to be addressed. If you need to work with your books and records, if you need to address your employee issues, if you need to deal with structure, with investment in new equipment in order to ramp up sales and bottom line profits before you go to market to get the maximum price and the best results, the broker opinion of value will highlight that. And so getting the valuation on today's business doesn't mean you have to go immediately list and sell the business, because it may be that you need 12 months or 18 months worth of preparation. And we're here to facilitate that process. Our goal is to be part of that team to get the seller, Mr. Business Owner, to get you to a successful conclusion. And as Jim pointed out, that's a process. That's a 7 to 9 month process or more. And we're part of your team and part of making that a reality, making that come to a successful conclusion.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. So let me wrap it up. We got to the point that we are doing valuation or broker opinion of value. What we do is not appraisal. And we find the best number that is appropriate to go to the market. And then we have to listen to the market feedback and adjust until we can get to the end successfully. So thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Jim, Phil, David, for your time. And hopefully we will gather together again with another topic. Thank you and have a great day.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Sara.